Hi there. This is Afro Perspectives. President Tshisekedi of the DRC has fired his anti-corruption chief, Jules Alingete. But first, let me give you a background to who Jules Alingete is. Alingete was appointed head of the DRC's Inspection Générale des Finances, translating to English as the General Inspectorate of Finance, commonly referred to as the IGF, using its acronym in French. He was appointed on 1 July 2020. Alingete has been the public face in the DRC's governments to instill discipline in monitoring public spending, ensuring the collection of tax receipts and the auditing of state enterprises and all provincial governments. So this is President Tshisekedi's drive to modernize the Congolese state and to ensure that the DRC operates like most modern states. So Alingete, who is he? Alingete studied economics at the DRC's prestigious University of Kinshasa and graduated top of his class in 1988, if I'm not wrong. And then he joined the IGF, General Inspectorate of Finance, on the 4th of January 1989 as a trainee inspector of finances. That's maybe more or less the equivalent of an auditor in the English-speaking world. And then he was made an inspector in 2000. And then that was under former President Joseph Kabila. And President Joseph Kabila went on to appoint him Inspector General of Finances in 2010. He is in the world of public administration in the Democratic Republic of Congo, has been a meteoric rise and is extremely capable. Alingete has worked in several government departments as a chartered accountant, then as a tax specialist and business consultant, that sort of thing. And the public in DRC has been marveling and has lauded the work he has done. And most people they suggest that for the first time in the DRC, 65 years as an independent country, high-ranking government officials have been named in investigations in the public misuse of funds, and it is Jules Alingete who has pursued the big fish. And some like Vital Kamerhe, the current Speaker of Parliament, they have ended up in prison, in the notorious Makala prison, rubbing shoulders with the country's kulunas, that is the Lingala term, the term used in Lingala for petty thieves and criminals. And to many in the DRC, Alingete was key to exposing corruption and especially the rot in the management of public finances. One of the major political parties has even called for one of the major roads in Kinshasa, the Avenue des Forces Armées, that simply translates to English as the Avenue of the Armed Forces, to be renamed in his honor as Avenue de Jules Alingete. After 5 years as head of the IGF, Jules Alingete is being replaced by Bertrand Bitassimwa Bahi. And this is presented to the world or to the public in the DRC as a retirement, but effectively Jules Alingete has been fired. And if you want to know the reason why President Tshisekedi has decided to fire Jules Alingete, please just follow this piece right to the end, and I'll give you, in the first instance, I'll give you a blow-by-blow account of Jules Alingete's investigations. Then right at the end, I will actually give you the reason why Jules Alingete has been fired, and it's to do with his investigations into the the presidential family, the presidential clan, how they are exploiting cobalt and copper mines in the provinces of Lualaba and Katanga. So let's take, for instance, the case of Nicolas Kazadi, the DRC's former Minister of Finance. In early 2024, he was accused of overbilling a water drilling project known as forage in French, and then and he effectively looted the public purse of 71 million US dollars. And then after the water drilling scandal, there was the street lighting scandal, which in French they refer to as Lambadère. And then there was also the Milvest scandals. And Alingete diligently investigated these cases and found that Kazadi looted nearly $500 million US dollars. And on top of that, he went to loot on the National Road Maintenance Fund, known as FONER in its acronym in French, through the BFI Bank. And though all this was presented to the public, but then just like in any other African country, but in DRC, the way politics is not as you would expect. Kazadi had friends in high places, and on the night of, surprisingly, on the night of the 4th of the June 30th last year, Kazadi, under the cover of darkness, went to Kinshasa airport and took a commercial flight to Paris in France. And like in most cases involving the DRC's political elite, the reason given was that he was leaving for the DRC to seek urgent medical treatment in France, and then that's him. He is expected prosecution. He's a free man in France, enjoying the loot he is plundered from the DRC's public coffers. So those knowledgeable with the goings-on in Kinshasa, however, state that the reason Kazadi left the DRC in such a haste was the impending collapse of Congo Airways. 68 million US dollars, that's the amount that was supposed to be injected into Congo Airways, and it vanished without a trace. No plausible explanation was given. Kazadi is close to the center of power, or was close to the center of power, and the opposition has alleged that Kazadi's escape was orchestrated and facilitated by President Tshisekedi himself. And then you get Kazadi, and then you got, well, this was in the past anyway, this was in President Kabila's time as president. Then you got the case of Matata Ponyo, who was prime minister. He was prime minister of the DRC from 2012 to 2016. And that's, like I've said, that was like during Joseph Kabila's tenure as president. In November 2020, Alingete, as head of the IGF, found that 205 million US dollars out of nearly 300 million that had been allocated by the treasury in Kinshasa for the Bugangalonzo Agro-Industrial Park, which is Bugangalonzo is about like something like 250 kilometers southeast of Kinshasa, and that was a joint venture with the South African firm. I've forgotten the name anyway. If I remember the name, I'll put it down in the comments below. And then the prosecutor general in Kinshasa argued that Matata had looted the public purse and should spend at least 20 years in jail. And Alingete was, as head of the IGF, was pushing for Matata's being sent to jail. And then you've got Alingete's drive to clean up the DRC's management of public finances, and it has led to the shake-up of DRC's political landscape. And some in the opposition have labeled that his crusade to clean up public finances has got is motivated by political ambitions. Some have said he is settling political vendettas or being used by the president to settle scores. And that was the case with in June 2020 with Vital Kamerhe, who was also aspiring to be to contest as president in the elections that took place in 2023. He was sentenced to 20 years hard labor in that was in 2020 after he was accused of looting $50 million of public funds. Then Congo's Court of Cassation, I think that will be equivalent to the Court of Appeal, say, in the English-speaking world, overturned his 13 years prison sentence, and then after spending something like, I think he had spent something like 20 months in prison. And so this is the world, how politics is enmeshed with misuse of public funds in the DRC. And it is not only politicians who are involved in the looting of public funds. The business elite also use their political connections to politicians to plunder public coffers. Take the case of David Blattner, the head of public works company Safricas. He was in cahoots with the likes of Kazadi, the Minister of Finance, and looted misappropriated funds, I would say misappropriated funds, allocated for the construction of flyover bridges. They call them sous des moutons in French. That's the term they use in Kinshasa. And then there was another Lebanese national, Sami Jamal, the boss of Sami Bokongo Construction Group. He plundered $55 million, and that was intended for the construction of social housing for Kinshasa's poor. And so you can see for yourself that Jules Alingete was not only targeting the political elite, even those in business. He was actually taking them to the courts, trying to show how they are plundering and looting the public coffers. But due to some flaws in the DRC's laws, someone like Kazadi, he was granted a conditional release for health reasons, which to those who follow Congolese politics simply means that politicians, in this case, it might be inferred that was the president, interfered and gave instructions to judges to find a loophole to close the case, and off he went. Went to Njili Airport, took a commercial flight to Paris, and that was the end of the case. And then after spending nearly 20 months at Kinshasa's fetid and notorious Makala prison, in August of 2024, that's I'm now talking of Kamere's case, it was finally quashed. By that time, the election was held. President Tshisekedi was firmly in power. So you can read between the lines what was actually going on. Of course, managing public finances is one thing, and then settling political scores is one thing. But, well, that's the world of politics. I'm not suggesting that, like, you can read between the lines of yourself what took place. So in 2022, a report by the General Inspector of Finance revealed that nearly $800 million was lost annually at that point in time from the public treasury because of the looting and embezzlement of public funds. The plunder of public coffers is visible for all who live in Kinshasa to see. So take, for instance, the construction of the Kinshasa Arena. In 2022, Sama Lukonde, the Prime Minister, announced with fanfare the construction, laying the first stone in the construction of the Kinshasa Arena, a 20,000-seat multi-purpose sports facility. It was estimated at that time to cost $105 million. But up to this day, anyone who drives past the Kinshasa Arena, they can see for themselves. It's unfinished. And you wonder how long does it take just to construct a simple stadium? It's not even like a 20,000 facility. And the construction deadlines, it has come and gone. And the construction site itself is now symbolic of what's wrong with the management of public finances, how the business elite, the politicians, and how they are collaborating or they're working in cahoots to loot public funds. And anyone can see for themselves. The Kinshasa Arena is there. And then in 2023, when Kazadi was still minister, that was before he fled to France. He disclosed that, like, I think I've already made that point anyway, but I'll repeat it just for the emphasis. The DRC almost nearly 1 billion a year. This time it was it's minerals, not just tax receipts. And these minerals, there is the artisanal miners in, especially in North Kivu and the South Kivu in the Eastern DRC. They mine these minerals, and then there is no system of viable system of tax receipt collection, and the country, the DRC, is losing 1 billion annually to mineral smuggling, and the loss to public coffers in the DRC does not just stop there. Mining entities with close links to the political elite do not pay any tax at all. Consider this: in January of this year, the authorities in South Kivu province arrested 3 Chinese nationals for illegal gold mining. Holding them with, they found them with gold bars and words and words of US dollar notes. But then it took maybe something like a week, and then after a week, they were released without any charges, without any accounting for what they were doing in South Kivu and what they were doing. They were just released, and some speculate that they had links to the presidential family, and then they simply made their way out of the DRC through Rwanda, and they vanished. So that's the issues Jules Alingete was dealing with, and is trying to clean up public finances, trying to modernize tax receipt system. But he faced a lot of obstacles. And to be honest with you, I think he did try. He did a stellar job, considering the state of collapse in Congolese institutions. So then, the real reason Jules Alingete was fired as the President Tshisekedi's anti-corruption chief or anti-corruption czar was that in recent weeks, Alingete signaled that he was aiming to invest. He was planning to investigate the state-owned mining entity Gécamines for all. And it was alleged, it has been alleged, and in all social media in the Congolese press, that the Gécamines has looted someone from the political elite or from the mining company itself, has plundered the state mining entity Gécamines of nearly $300 million from its coffers between 2012 and 2020, and no one could account for what happened to all this this tidy sum of money. And then Alingete found that in 2022, 400 million in tax advances and loans that Gécamines had said it had paid to the national treasury no one could trace where it went. And it might be politicians, it might be the accountants in the firm, no one knows. And then in investigating Gécamines and its activities in Katanga and Lualaba province, those 2 provinces where there are significant deposits of cobalt, was a highly risky move by Alingete. Mining in these 2 provinces is key to the Tshisekedi's family's plunder of mineral resources in these 2 provinces. The presidential clan headed by Christophe Tshisekedi, with its many frontmen and partners, mainly the Chinese, but also there are like Lebanese, and then there are some Indians involved, pockets tens of millions of dollars each month by plundering or exploiting tailings and waste rock that mostly belong to Gécamines. Christophe Tshisekedi, the president's younger brother, like I said, leads an entity, a company known as Weza Investment, which has partnered with another mining company known as ERG, and is exploiting, besides the tailings, is exploiting copper and cobalt concessions in Lualaba. And Alingete had signaled that he would go to the root of the road in tax collection system, especially in Katanga and Lualaba, And by implication, those who know what's happening on the ground, they knew very well that he was aiming for the center of power in Kinshasa, the president's family. And you can see for yourself the mines, like the Menda mine in I think it's in Lualaba province. The Republican Guard, which normally provides security services to the president, is providing security to Menda mine, and Christophe Tshisekedi has been using the soldiers from the FADAC and the Presidential Guard Battalion, the Republican Guard, to prevent access from Boss Mining. Boss Mining also owns the claim to that mine, and Christophe Tshisekedi has been using artisanal miners and he's been giving them protecting, and they are illegally digging the site. The site to the Menda claim is near the Shinkolobwe uranium deposits, and it presents a health risk. Those who know mining better than me can tell you the risks posed by uranium mining if it's not regulated. So those were the health risks, besides the plundering of finances and all those things. And then Christophe is also involved in a dispute with Boss Mining, who claims ownership of the mine, and Christophe is the supporter of Lebanese operatives, notably businessman Koko Muya, who has close ties not only to the presidential family, but also to those in top positions in Prime Minister Judith Suminwa's cabinet. So this is the sort of mess Jules Alingete was trying to sort out. And he was about to start investigating Christophe's dealings in Lualaba and the activities of his accomplices. And this is where we are. His investigations has led to his immediate firing by the president, although to the rest of the population in DRC, this has presented as like, Alingete has spent 5 years at the head of the EGF, and then he has done wonderful work. Now it's time for his retirement. But this is effectively Alingete being fired. He's been fired. He's been given the sack. He's been given his marching orders. So anyone would want to ask, why fire Alingete if he was doing such wonderful work and going after those looting millions from Congolese public purse and defrauding the public purse in unrecovered taxes? Well, the answer is there for everyone to see. Alingete was aiming at the interests of the elite, and these days, when he started, that pursuit they were numbered, and so he's been fired, and he's going into retirement, and his replacement is already in place. It's Christophe Bitasima Bayi. Right. Thank you for listening to this piece, and if there is anything I got wrong or failed to include in this piece, please leave your comments below. And if you have found this analysis useful, please give me some likes, and please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Bye. Merci.